Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Prabha Khaitan Foundation and Ehsas Women of Udaipur, I welcome you for today's Right Circle event. Our guest today, she's bold, she's brave, she's beautiful. She's formidable, fascinating, and fearless. She's been a maverick, unafraid to share stories which stimulate, stir, and inspire. She's sharply perceptive, brutally honest, and immensely artistic, and an absolute exquisite woman of Indian cinema. She is an alumna of NSD and has acted in over 100 Indian and international films and over 50 TV shows. Her latest book, Banj, throws light on the incomplete lives of complete women. Reading her words, the way she writes, the way she sees the world, its colors, its texture and sound, makes readers gasp, ponder, empathize, and look at life like never before. That is the power of creativity, that is the power of her words, and that is the power of the phenomenon called Susmita Mukherjee. She is among the vanguard of brilliant actors, writers, script writers who is making women's rights a reality. She's a trailblazer, a heterodox, and a champion of social causes, and her work in theatre, be it her solo play, Nari Bai, to her award-winning screenplay for Nati, wakes us up from a social torpor and urges us to create a new tomorrow, a new definition of womanhood, and a new India. It is not every day that we bask in the reflected iridescence of such a lustrous star. To say that we are fortunate and grateful is an understatement to the hilt. With hearts singing and souls dancing, we welcome you, Sushma ji, or should I say, Kitty. I also extend a very warm welcome to Priyanshi, who will be in conversation with Sushma ji today. She is Ehsas Women, part of the Ehsas family from Ahmedabad. Being the managing trustee of Karma Foundation, she aims at focusing on holistic community development. For her efforts and initiatives, she's been given the highest state honor, Glory of Gujarat, and recently given the prestigious title of Bharat Ki Lakshmi by Government of India. Wow. She's credited of being the first female president of Entrepreneurs Organization for the Gujarat chapter. She's been the first female chairperson of the youth wing of Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Priyanshi, you sure are a force to reckon with. I hand over the stage, the mic to you to help us know about the inspiring, revolutionary, and complete life of Sushma ji.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm delighted to continue the conversation with you. We've just been having a lovely conversation where the time just flew. So there have been so many roles that we heard about as a screenwriter, as a TV actress, as a film actress. Tell us a little bit more about how each of these roles sprang to life.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me. This gorgeous introduction, I'm just still processing it. So to answer Priyanshi's question, actually I knew from when I was a very little girl, I think it's there in the preface of the book, that I wanted to be an actor. So मैं imitate करती रहती थी and I just wanted to. And then life happened and parents said no to the IAS. And you know, my times it was IAS was like the thing that girls had to do if you're from a middle class educated family. And then I did my masters from Delhi University and then went to National School of Drama. And before that I was doing a lot of street theatre. And I started writing at a very early age, but then it was always a lot of ghost writing because you know, you're not sure which way you're going, which way most people, adolescents, are not sure which way they're headed. So I लिखती पढ़ती रहती थी, I was always fascinated, and of course I had to go against the family to do theatre. There's no way they were going to accept me, just doing nachna kudna. Was what they thought. And then I just stuck to my guns. That's how it happened.
So from all of these roles, which one is your most favorite role? Which one that you yearn to express yourself the most through?
You know, Priyanshi, it's really like having children. Lots of people are mothers. You can't really say which child you want more, whether it's which gender you want more. You know, it's just that everything that you do, even if as women we're just making something beautiful for the family, कुछ उनका मन का कुछ बना रहे हैं. At that time when we focus, we create something very magical. But it's another thing that we might not be appreciated, or worse, we don't appreciate ourselves as we are creating this art. It's not necessary to be a famous painter or a famous actor or a famous writer. You know, we all have the same abilities to be famous, but we don't know it. We don't pat ourselves and say we are famous. So, it's very difficult to say which is better. So whatever I'm doing in whichever period of my life, even if I'm potting some plants in my little, Bombay terrace, that also becomes something I'm very, very keen to do, and it's as important at that moment than when I'm doing a film or I'm writing a play. So I think it's the focus on whatever I'm doing passion. I just put in everything and I forget everything else at that point.
That's the best way that an artist immerses themselves into the present moment. Yet, what is the source of creativity? What is a source of inspiration for you in all of these different creative pursuits?
I think that there is no mind in this. Even if it sounds a little woo-woo, but I feel that I call it downloads from Saraswati. I really believe that we all have this power of a certain download. And that download happens, and it's not from the mind. It's not कि मैं बहुत research करती हूँ or I'm sitting for hours, talking to people or researching. I'm not that person at all. Even in terms of art, in terms of I paint also a little bit, dabbling with everything. Whatever makes you happy. But it's not something that I have to do it for somebody, or it's coming from an intellectual place. It's basically just creating from that moment and actually closing your eyes and says कि भाई. I think many of us have that experience with cooking. भैया अच्छा बना देना. Let's hope for the best. We're not these big chefs and we need to be doing it marvelously. Not all of us. I mean, there may be people who can, but then it's a download. Oh God, let this happen nicely, and it happens. So I can't take credit for it. I don't take credit for it.
That's great. So with all of your journey, is your family somebody in your family who was on the creative sides, or they saw you as, who's this alien from us?
No. They said, "Ye kahan se bandri aa gayi bhai?" They were completely against it. My family was, Bengali middle class, lawyers, doctors. Oxford jana, Cambridge jana. That is the main thing for a girl growing up in Delhi at my time. It was like horrible to imagine. What would we tell our family? Our daughter is doing all this nachal kudun. What is this? So nobody from my family at all ever appreciated it. I had a brother who was 10 years younger than me, and one day he wrote a little note to my bade papa, who was the head of the family, and he wrote saying that Miss Susmita Mukherjee is great because she wants to do acting not for the sake of money, but for its own sake, and she should be allowed to do whether it goes against the family or not. And for signed yours affectionately, God. So my body papa is sitting there with his tie and all reading a newspaper, and a little chip comes. He says, "Eta card, kya likhe?" So then nobody knew what it was. My little brother sat sitting in the corner, and he wrote that little note because he thought that my choti, calls me choti, she wanted to be an actress. So then the whole family got together and said, "The God kya likha hai." So it was a little family personal thing I was sharing with you. That he was the one, then he made the elders say, maybe, we should give her a chance. But I had to fight for it.
And that's lovely that you had your brother support you
Yes.
in this way. But how is it dealing with your creative outbursts or downloads along with like a family, like traditionally, in like a traditional approach towards education and professions?
Somewhere, I always say this very triggering thing, which is sometimes not very graceful. But I like to say you have to divorce your parents after a point. Divorce them in the sense not from your heart or your love, but from your thinking. Because the only reason why now as a parent I know, the only reason we have children is to see them fly. So you can see them with sadness, emptiness, or you can see them with pride. Wow, I did okay, they've flown, they're not falling, they're not crashing. So I think even as a young person I knew that, I couldn't believe what they stood for. And it's not that I have great respect for my banker, doctor, literary family, not literary, but service family. But I wasn't them. I was a black sheep of the family from day one. So I, in my head, divorced the concepts. I divorced what they stood for, not them, of course. But I divorced what they stood for, and I carved my way. It was a very bitter struggle. It was not without its problems. It is very, very scary when you're out of, you don't have, you know what, I came from Delhi to Bombay and we didn't have homes, we didn't have phones, but suddenly I became very famous because of Karanjan. So there was a show I did back then in the 80s, it was very famous. और हम लोग बस we didn't have money for anything और बस में नहीं ले सकते थे because we would be mobbed very, very much. It was the first time actors were coming on television at home. And the film people, were going down. Hema Ji and all were coming down because they become mothers. And we were the young people coming up, but we were in a strange quandary because we didn't have money for autos, forget about cars. We were just coming from Delhi and we were trying to make our place in Mumbai. So it was a very tough, it was often very, very brutal, the rejections. The fact that, my mother once said to me, that when you were young, you told me, Mama, I only have money for a toothpaste or a rickshaw. I can either come in a rickshaw to see you. She was staying with my sister, who was well off and living very comfortably, and I was going from 11 month to 11 month. So it was a lot of struggle, but you have to. I stood by what I believed in. So.
That is great, because even in this day and age, I see a lot of kids struggling with their creative sides versus, the more traditional bread and butter industries. So this is a brilliant thing that, like divorce their ideologies of what they stand for, not them.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So moving on to the stories behind the stories that you've written, I was fascinated to hear, to read that one of your first novels, it took 11 years to finish, Me and Chewy Baby. Tell us the story behind it.
So again, Me and Chewy Baby, like most first-time writers, it's a lot, semi-autobiographical. Not autobiographical, but then characters kept coming into my life. Because I used to be scribbling in vanity vans, and just little before that, I'll just share that my husband and I ran a media house for a long time. We were making content for television and movies and all. And I would write. So I would be nursing my son, and I would be writing. I was so fascinated with writing, but they never gave me money. He and his partners, they didn't give me money. They didn't give me name also. And I also thought, Jane do, my work as an actor is going, and supposing I become a writer, then they won't give me acting work, my acting ki dukaan will go. So it's better So I was ghostwriting for the longest time, as a writer for my. And so Me and Chewy Baby is again this crazy phenomenon of characters coming to you. Like, Pirendole is a very famous playwright, you may know him. 6 characters in search of an author. So in my case, it became like that. Certain characters came to me and said, we want to be in your book, So I didn't even know these characters, and a very strange thing, why I know it's really true. Because 4 or 5 years ago, I worked with a director for a film. The film was called Batti Gul, which I had the director's name was Shri Narayan. Now I'm seeing this director and he's got lots of beads and he's got some stuff written on his head and long hair. And I said, I've known this, I've seen this before, I've seen this person before. I couldn't figure him out. And then I realized that I'd written this character 5 years ago. Isn't that strange? To meet a character you've written. So that's why there are downloads and there are these various. See, I really believe that it's not matter, it's energy. So if we can, at a fundamental level, if we connect energetically with each other, then whatever you require at that particular moment just drops. I think all of us have experienced that. It's just we don't believe in it sometimes. We go intellectual and say, "Aisa nahi ho sakta." But in a deep down sense, we know. Even as mothers, we know. Deep down, we know. We know so much. Like women, we know so much. We know everything. But somehow, we are not conditioned to really believe in ourselves. And we believe in whatever definitions, we happily, let people create for us. But that knowingness is very important. And that knowingness in these characters came, and it took me 11 years. My mother's 9 months mein bacha karte hai. My first bacha was 11 years it took. My first book, baby, I call it.
Lovely, so fascinating story. I think as you said that, there's energy the minute that you think of something, then it just manifests. That's what happened to me before reading the book while we were talking. And there came a thought to me that before I have a conversation with her, I want to read the book. And initially I just asked in terms of if the book has come or not, and it was not there. So I just had this idea that I want to make sure that I talk to her before, after reading it. And a couple of minutes on Amazon and there it was. And I have to tell you all that the minute I started reading, I could not put it down. Like the stories, the character, the way that the book was written, like all the emotions that were mentioned in your introduction, I've went through all of them. So it's a beautiful book. I'm curious to know that where did these characters come from for all of these 11 stories? What was the story behind this particular book and how the compilation came about?
Actually, this book has been written for 40 years. That is 11 years is 40 years. So it started when I read Blue Diary, right through my days. I would just write little things and keep it. And during the COVID time, I was in a very nice, comfortable, safe bubble. And I just found this Blue Diary, and I'm like, these are a lot of stories. It should come out into the world. So I spoke to my publisher, and ऐसे ही बोला मैंने. I didn't even think. But then he resonated with it, and I read it after a long time, and I too thought that yes, they kind of are. Things don't change. Certain emotions don't change. Beliefs change. I can believe something today, but core things don't change. Like women, like men, like core things, core emotions don't change. And so I was very pleased to find that it resonated still. It wasn't as if it was dated or ecalic. So even my publisher felt that, and that happened. This happened.
So tell us a little more about these 11 stories, not giving the whole thing away, but just giving a glimpse so that everyone reads it within this week, like a little teaser.
Would you like to say that?
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that?
So there are 11 stories that I've read, short stories. Each one of them have a different character, like a different women portrayed in it. We will talk about what these incomplete mean, but for me, each woman character was complete in themselves, and how the story progresses from the story of a woman who is in a certain position in a certain time, and how with situations, with their bearing things down, how the evolution of a woman into a Durga or a woman into the entire metamorphosis of this being just happens. So by the end of it, I felt very, very empowered that how much strength we have within. It takes time and situation for it to come out. So for me, the experience of all of these different characters was how we all have so much within us waiting to explode, and it's just that sometimes that one extra degree that turns you out from water into vapor into, like how you just transform. So that was my experience while reading and how I felt. So, want to know more about your favorite story from it, your favorite character.
You know, because you haven't read the thing, it won't make so much sense. I hope, and I'd be very pleased if you would read the book. They are basically, they were sketches. Originally it was called Sketches of a Life Outside the Vanity Van. तो मैं जो Vanity Van में लिखती थी, but this is life outside the Vanity Van. This is not a life of my career, of my profession. It's not a life of actors, we're writing, you know, we're mouthing dialogues written by other people. This is real life. This is the life which I've seen as a young girl from Delhi, then a young girl who turned into a woman in Mumbai, then a married woman who made her life in Bundelkhand, which is a very backward part of UP, where there is still Ghungat, and I come from a very traditional, my in-laws are very traditional, so I'm seeing those women, and I'm seeing my set of women, and I don't know which is mine and which is yours anymore. You know, it is like the transformation of a young girl, like all of us, we all have stories of what we were, where we grew up, hamara maika, phir hamari, you know, how we got married, our, you know, our birthing process, while we are birthing children also, we are getting birth. You know, so these stories are experiences from all over the place. You know, there's one story, for example, which was written when in my house in Mumbai there was a big mall, Infinity Mall, and behind that there was great activity happening and some stuff happening. So one story is seen from a 9-year-old girl's point of view, what she's seeing in her little hovel. What are the interactions between her migrant father, who's maybe come from Bihar or Jharkhand or whatever, to build this mall. And what's happening in that little chopri, what is happening between her mother and her sister and her father and her chacha, you know. So it is all glimpses of a life outside. Very, then, you know, a very fancy woman who is very complete, has a perfect marriage, perfect children, but something is missing in her life till she decides to have an affair. But with whom does she have an affair? So that's a question. So the story is called An Affair. So it's, right? So it's not what one would think. So it's not just, it's really the various ways in which we look at each other, we look at life as women, and as I age, I see there are no complexities and yet more simple. So I think we can only talk about it once you've read the book.
So when we talk about the title, it says Incomplete Stories of Complete Women.
Incomplete lives.
Incomplete lives of complete women. So in which term did you put incomplete and complete? Was it external? Was it within them?
Actually, most women, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, most of us think of ourselves as incomplete. We may be fabulous, good-looking, rich, handsome husbands, beautiful children, but we think we are incomplete. There is something which is in our DNA, which has come from some kind of culture, literature, history, that we don't know the best part of ourselves. Very few people are blessed to have that knowledge. And that is why in my experience, I've always found these even immensely talented, focused women. I've met many in my life, in my travels and meeting people. There is kuch kami hai, kuch to, you know. So this was in Hindi. This book has been also translated into Hindi. We don't have the Hindi, no? Oh, okay.
So the right circle is for English.
Oh, this is for the English. All right. Sorry. So it's called Stri Man ke Ankhule Panne. Stri Man ke Ankhule Panne. So it's again the same thing. That's Striman, which is how do you define Striman? And the unopened pages, the pages that she doesn't open, the pages that are very much there, and she's sometimes frightened to open those pages. She knows her own power. If she opens that page, my God, her whole world will burst, because she knows her power, so she keeps it, you know, withheld. For safety, for propriety, for keeping things together. Because she's Durga, she's Kali, she's everything. And she's also Lakshmi. So that's how I look at women.
So in all of these 11 women, which is a character or which is a story which is very close to you, energetically?
Again, which baby? No, actually, no, I can't really answer because each of them came at a different point in my life. So they've been written over four decades, right? So at whichever point I was going through whatever period, so I think I must have expressed that thing in that particular time. So that was real for that time. So in a long shot, I can't really say which is best because whatever I wrote at whichever point was relevant to me at that point.
All right. And any one story that you would want to see it convert into a film?
In fact, I am in talks with somebody for Sakri Bai, for a short film, and The Affair. So, but I don't know, these things take time in my industry. It takes years for something to happen. So, let's see.
Now, talking about films, since you said it takes time, you've played so many different characters, so many different films. How's that journey been?
Films are another ball game because at my time, I'm talking the 80s, the casting couch was very strong because there was no social media. And coming from a conservative family, I didn't take that route at all. So I was doing very selective work. And the other thing was, I was not willing to be typecast as Kitty. Kitty had done very well. So another actress called Neelam, she became very famous because I produced that film and that film topped her. But I have no regrets. So my film world has been, I've not been a very Bollywood person. I've done occasional films. I've done, say, actually 100 films, but I've not left that kind of a mark because I didn't play that. So I was playing cricket with the laws of tennis, let's say. I wasn't playing the game. And I was happy. I'm happy I have no regret, none whatsoever. So my film world has been, sometimes even when I see the IMDb, I'm like, oh yes, I did, oh yes, I acted with that one, oh I acted with that. But I don't have very solid memories or solid regrets or yearnings or, happiness. It's just more like a professional thing, like I did a job at that time. Had I done a job in an office, I would have felt, yeah, there were nice co-actors, oh that was nice, oh that was a nice coffee place. But that whole, there's no charge of emotion inside me of that time.
Okay. So that was your journey as an actor. Now you're also with a production house. So how is the journey on this side with a production?
Oh my God. So my husband and I started Prayas Production in '94. And we made a lot of content for television, as I was telling you. So that was another, you're on this side. So it taught me compassion actually. I remember as a producer, my first set was very big. It was in Film City. Those days there were leopards there. I don't know, any of you knew Film City in Bombay? So there were leopards, actual leopards there, Goregaon. So when we built our set, it was like, now though everything is after 38 years plus whatever. And we were doing this very beautiful show called Kab Tak Pukaru. My age people may have seen it. This was Pankaj Kapoor, myself and Pallavi Joshi. It was Rangi Raghav's very, very interesting novel, Kab Tak Pukaru. So I remember we had huts there, as a set. And huts ke bahar I would write, this hut is Pankaj Kapoor hut, this is Pallavi Joshi hut, and I would run around giving topis and nimbu pani to everybody, the compassion, because I knew what being an actor, I was just a taker, this is not right, that's not right, please give me the lines, this is not good, my costume is not good. So this is all actors natak, it's part of the job. We need all that thing to be able to process our work. But when you become a producer, then you feel so much, they are working for me in this heat, and they're working for me, they're for such little money. So there's a great compassion you feel. And I think every one of us should have alternative lives because it pulls out the best in you, or the worst, either way. Anything which makes you grow and not be static. As a human being, evolution is the only game that we have to be playing.
Absolutely, and with that compassion, I feel that you've also done a lot of work with the foundation that you have. Please tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, so nothing compared to what you've been doing, but about 10 years ago I started this art center in Orcha. Orcha is this heritage village in Madhya Pradesh. My husband comes from that area. So I wanted to do something, for the dying arts there. So I made a coffee table book I was discussing with her. So Bundelkhand is known for its brave hearts. Shauryaveer. You all know Bundelkhand? Anybody?
Yes, very good.
Yeah. So there's known for their Shauryaveer. So I realized my work over there, because I've been married 32 years now and I've been there. The very vibrant folk and art culture there is not being used as effectively as it's used in Gujarat and Rajasthan. It's as good, but there's no Sulaini, nobody has stood up and gone back. So somehow in my own small way I wanted to work. So I made a coffee table book called The Brave Arts of Bundelkhand. Arts which are struggling to fight a digital time. So now, I was telling Priyanshi, so there was this huge theatre, beautiful theatre, made by a Raja, some in Charkhari, almost early in the beginning of the century. And so he got gold curtains done, and a lot of people would come, and very big playwrights would, come and stay there and write. Today, it's become a go down for wheat by the Nagar Panchayat. There's nobody there, nobody's looking after the arts. And there's so many things, they're all going to nearby states, they have become masons, they become carpenters, so their whole art is dying because there is, everything is getting so fast, because first, we were also slower. If you had to make alpana, we would put chaw, atta, we would keep it in the night, and the next day we would put geori, we would color it. Now we just go by it, tuck. I'm not against movement, I'm not against evolution, but I'm saying that we are forgetting this. In order to get something else, we are forgetting this, and that will be very devastating for the next generation, because they will become irrelevant unless they know their true where they are. With infotech and biotech and information technology, where will our children go? Unless they will actually have no jobs, they will become irrelevant, and it's a fact. Unless you cling to your sweetness, your culture, your values, unless you cling to it like there's no tomorrow, we are not going to, that our kids will have a devastating time, I believe that. So that's why I'm really in for trying to save this, because this sweetness will always stay with us. This beauty and sweetness and kindness which art creates, which writers create. This is something, it's a straw now in the digital world,
That's fascinating to hear. Now, since you've been all around in all of these different aspects of life, has there been a story, a moment, or an experience that took you by surprise, or that you've always been in awe of? Anything that you would like to share with us?
Life is doing surprises all the time. Priyanshi. I just see, I feel that, as these things are moving so fast. I started in black and white, 1983, I started my career. Actually, my first film was in 1981. So how many years is it? 41 years?
Yeah.
And from then, sets are the same. Of course, there's much more. But I've been a running actor for 40 years, and I've been a running sort of an artist, or dabbling with all kinds of things. Mota-moti things are the same, but actually the heart has gone. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a doomsday prophet. I don't mean that at all. I think there's beauty, I think there's a lot of vibrancy everywhere. What about a gathering like this? I mean, how vibrant is this? All of you sitting, we're all sitting together exchanging some energy. I'm feeling a lot of energy from you people. So I feel that every life has so many surprises all the time. I can't really think of a certain one like that. But you have to play the game. If ball comes, you have to learn how to toss it.
Lovely. So, what is that part of you that you've been interviewed a lot, there have been too many people who've asked you a lot of questions? What is that something that you've always wanted to convey to people that nobody's asked you?
Wow. Actually, most places and spaces where we talk of our work, but I think this is a one place when I'm really sharing things I don't normally share. You know, like when I'm talking about the book, because the book enthuses me to talk about the other layers of life, which is again energy, which is again the unseen, it's just the felt thing. You know, the felt thing is not what people mostly talk about. It's like people ki kya baat hai. But we all know that that is the black space. Like in the universe, there is no black space. We say no, that this black hole. We are in a very velvety meta womb actually of creation. And once we actually access those things in the forms that obviously you all are here, so all of you are in the arts, all of you have the same kind of, the same mindset of artists, writers, painters, poets, whether you do it or not is not relevant. It's that the mindset and the desire to be dipping into that energy. So you will know, like we would know, that these are the dark spaces are actually full of teeming with stuff, teeming with energy, teeming with life. And that is something which, quantum physics excites me a lot. Yes, I'm not a physician, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a poor simple me, but it just excites me because I know that quantum physics is something, Newtonian law has become old now, cause and effect. And it's now the quantum that we are huge manifestors. And that's the lesson which we have to tell the next generation. That canvas, the paint brush of your life is there. You paint your life any which way you want. Don't let anybody tell you. You have come with a special dispensation on earth. You've come with a special mission. You just not accidentally sprouted. You've come here for some life journey. So you must do it whichever way.
This is great. Very interested to know you were into quantum physics. As you said, there's nothing black right there. That was something that astonished me the most when this research came out. What is the color of the cosmos? And it's not black, it's beige. And that took me by surprise. Like, we've been used to seeing the black sky. So as you're right, it does, life and things and everything's full of surprises. And there's no black. We can open the session up for questions of everyone present here.
मैंने बहुत बोला ना, it's not fair.
About the significance of the title.
What's the significance?
The title.
So Banj was one of the stories.
Yeah.
Banj, is such a negative word, no, for women who can't bear children. But this story is not about that. So I think my publisher liked the title. Banj was one of 11 stories, but उन्होंने वो कर दिया. He said, because for him, when he read the stories, the editor read the stories, उनको लगा कि this can represent the book, the incomplete lives of complete women. And you don't need to be a mother to be a complete woman, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, my name is also Susmita. I'm here. Hi. I'm very interested to know what you're doing in Osha, because Osha holds a very special place in my heart. I had stumbled upon it while I had gone to Jhansi for work, and I find it very fascinating, and I've been there n number of times.
What? Oh.
Yes, and I do not know what there is, and I've seen it at different times, with Ramji ki Barat Nikli. I've done it all. So
what is your work? What is the nature of your work?
I do a couple of things, but I'm also in the development sector.
So that's nice. Okay. This picture is very nice.
So what do you want to do?
So I created a space called Rudrani Kalagram. If you note that big palace, Ocha Palace,
yes.
There's a gully.
Yes.
Little by little, what is it called? Post. What is it called? Like a stand, which says Rudrani Kalagram, and it shows an arrow. So that's where we are on the village. We are on the riverfront, and we've got an open air stage. We've got some. My husband started something called Khajuraho International Film Festival.
Yes, I'm aware.
7-8 years ago. So he started the concept of Tapra talkies because he wanted to get normal people to come into the cinema halls, and when they come, they're very shy. They don't come. They're very frightened of affluence. They feel complexed. So Tapra talkies was something temporary, and you can watch films. So we have 2 Tapra talkies in Rudrani. and we have 2 stages, and he just did a Ram Mahotsav there, which it was a 9-day Ram Mahotsav, because Ram is not known as God in Orcha, he's known as king. They give him a 21-gun salute. So
the mandir, that is what actually fascinated me there.
Yes, Raja Ram Mandir. And they believe that Lord Raja Ram, Ayodhya, he goes there in the night, and in the day Ram lives in Orcha. Oh, manyata hai wahan ki. So that kind of work we are doing. I mean, as I was telling Pranchi, I tried, but you know, I wasn't very successful because I used to earn in Bombay and put it here. I wasn't able to develop a really, I didn't have the matrix to do the mental thing of how to keep an organization in development. But after this we can have a chat, I'm sure we can.
In fact, PhD Chamber of Commerce was also part of your Khajuraho.
Yes, PhD still.
I was the Secretary General at that time.
Really?
Small world.
Energetic. Yeah. Yes, thank you. It is true, but actually, you know, it is. We can't be here otherwise.
Susmita ji actually also organizes a wonderful festival called Udaipur Tales.
Sorry.
She also organizes a wonderful
Susmitas. Sush, okay.
Yeah. She also organizes a wonderful fest which is called Udaipur Tales, which is once in a year. And
Udaipur?
Tales.
It's an international storytelling festival, and you can only narrate a story. You can't read a story. That is the bottom line. You have to sit like you were talking. You have to sit and narrate a story. So we have storytellers from all over, and she has been coming in many. So for all story lovers.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We have more questions.
So you had a serial Ram Khilan, I believe, CMN family. Was it politically motivated, and what exactly happened, you know? Because I believe it was made on Lalu and Rabri Devi's life, right? And it, in a way, gathered a lot of appreciation, but it also garnered a lot of criticism from the family, which you intended to portray. How was your take on all this? Or was it actually politically motivated as it was said?
You know, I was just the actor in this. The director was Ashwini Dheer, who does a lot of this Chidyaghar and Lapata Ganjana. He's a very famous producer writer. So he made us do this, and we did it happily. And then then the very big burly Bihar policemen came to our doorstep and they told us, go underground. So I thought, mazak kar rahe kya, underground jao. He said, run, it's dangerous, they really are after you. And then we had to go somewhere, and then All India, the radio ads, 10-15 years ago. So we had to speak on the radio, we had to speak on the mic, and I didn't know who it was, and this person was cursing me, Rabri Devi banega. And it was Mr. Lalu himself. He was furious at me, and I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said, I'm sorry, sir, I did not, we are just actors, and I'm sorry if we offended you, and it was supposed to be in a light vein. And they were very furious. And then we backed off, obviously.
No, it was a good serial actually, and it actually threw a lot of insight. The only part was a lot of people felt that it was politically motivated.
No, I don't think so, because he didn't have any political thing. It just किसी का मजाक उड़ाना ना, मखौल करना. I mean, you some fat man fall, you laugh. It's a silly thing to say. In hindsight, I wouldn't do it now. But at that point, as a younger person, acting कर रहे हैं, it was okay.
अभी जो OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं और अभी जो हम देख रहे हैं women कैरेक्टर जो हैं वो काफ़ी prominent मतलब you get an opportunity to perform, you know, तो हम आपको कब देखेंगे?
अभी 12 तारीख को. So quickly. This is a serial I do called Mind the Malhotras, season 2.
Oh wow! Yes.
Mummy ji.
Yes.
Yeah. But this time I'm playing a Punjabi. I mean, I'm playing the. It is a little more defined this time. वो last time थोड़ा सा नहीं था.
No, it was very nice. Yes, it was very nice.
12th August को ऐसे.
और आपको लगता है कि इस प्लेटफॉर्म से जो न्यू टैलेंट है या इवन आपकी जनरेशन का या उनको भी बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है? As you can see, नीना गुप्ता.
Yes, Nina is the biggest example.
Yeah. And it was very brave of her also कि she came and she said I won't work.
Yes. Why not?
It is good to see
Very
actually real people, you know, real performances. Because बीच में तो जो phase गया, that was really a very dark phase.
You see, and also you know what happens sometimes. We all go through this stage कि मैं क्यों बोलूँ? मतलब मैंने तो काम किया, उनको बोलना चाहिए. I mean, Prabha Khaitan, I asked them. I said, I heard about you. You're doing fabulous work. Would you meet me? And they said yes. I'm not ashamed. I'm very privileged and proud and happy that I could meet you people. If I hadn't said that, where would I have had the chance to meet you all? Where would I have had the chance to share my little gift, you know? So it's that ये बेकार का ego भी होता है, you know? You know, why should I? And so I'm so glad she did it. And at my age, and people are calling us and giving us work and giving us money and giving us love. इससे बड़ी चीज़ क्या हो सकती है, you know? Thank.
It's good to see good actors on screen. Actually, people like you. It's a treat, really.
And ma'am, hadn't you written this book, we would have perceived you in a very different thing. I have always seen you doing more comedy.
Yeah.
And never knew this facet of yours.
Yeah, that's the reason, you know, I feel like, because my first book also is about mothers and daughters, actually. The umbilical thing we all have with our mothers, no? So I expressed my relationship with my mother, and then other people came along who I didn't even know, as I told you. But the basic story is a very umbilical. Me and Juhi baby. So that you know, because actually I was trained in literature from Miranda House, Delhi. I basically
Perceive you as something very, like, you know, funny or something, not something who has so much depth.
Yeah, there's a strong impact of Karam Chand on everyone.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And Golmaal.
I उसके बाद फिर then, you know, I had very strong, very negative characters and all that.
Yeah.
So I got stuck there also. Then I said, ठीक है, it's life. Whatever people want to see. I mean, if audience wants to see you, then you're alive. If they don't want to see you, you're dead.
How did you meet your husband? I'm a big fan of his as well.
He was my senior at the National School of Drama. I used to call him Raja Bhai. I used to be very scared of him. Because seriously, my children say, you don't have to say this story, you know. It's very inappropriate. I said, it's all right. It's the truth. We used to say कि कोई भी कुछ problem होगा ना, go to Raja Bhai, he'll solve it. So even today for Bundelkhand, you know, he's spearheading the movement of separate Bundelkhand. He really works there. He lives there. He's always working for the people of Bundelkhand. He's one person who left everything, his career. He was a producer, director, but he left everything for. So he's really come back. And he lives alone in Rudrani. He just lives alone there with the cows and the cat and the dogs. He actually lives that life. You know, send me pictures of him. आज 125 वो क्या what पेड़ अमलताश or some पेड़, you know, he's sitting with all the farmers. He just loves it. He's gone back to his original nature. I'm still sharing.
And tell us something about your children also.
My children, okay. So I have 2 sons. Rudransh is 28 and he's in our line. He wants to be he's made a short film which was nominated, but he's still not, he's a kacha, he's still not there, he's working. He worked in an ad agency, now he's making his own films. And my younger one, Rudranuj, he's just completed his doctorate, PhD from New Zealand, Wellington, on some subject which I haven't a clue, and I said, कि बता दो अगर लोग पूछे क्या करता, endoterpine of the fungi of the something. Because I see, it's obviously it has nothing to do with both my and my husband are in shock. Ki, you know, a PhD in something totally different. Art में कुछ होता हम बोल सकते हैं कि भाई it's complete, it's nuclear science or something, totally power.
But what a beautiful example you gave them, Ruth said, you know, let them, you know, choose to fly.
Actually, and you know, if you notice, I was just thinking that there are 2 ways. You can feel sad to see them go, na? भाई छोड़ दिया, देखो हमने इतना खर्चा किया इनपे, no return of investment. Now they've gone to their wives, they've gone to their, you know, to their husbands. Or you can say, wow, I did okay. They haven't fallen. You know?
The positive side, yeah.
And they haven't fallen. Like our parents must be also thinking, चलो ठीक है, गिरते पड़ते कहीं तो उड़ गए. So I think the whole point is गिरते पड़ते उड़ते और फिर जीवन निकल जाता है. So that's the flight of life. Nahin?
Yeah.
Some parents say, what will they earn? How will they support themselves?
We all think like that, but you know, that's not our business. They must divorce us. Serious is not our business, because once you educate them, then you can only be there if they ask you. You know, not helicoptering them, ye kar lo, ye acha. Main to pata hai, when we were young, we did this. Oh God.
What you were saying, Susmita, what you were saying is an actual state of nirvana, where the kids are growing, flourishing, and you're not letting them go. But generally with mothers, don't you think it is difficult?
Yeah, very difficult.
Very difficult.
Ask me, I'm a Bengali mother.
And I'm a Punjabi
Totally,
mother.
eta khincho, ota karo, I'm totally full on. But my boys helped me. They said, excuse me, would you like to lead your own life? Would you let our father lead his own life?
And then if
And-
you see we don't respect us as much, they don't love us, you start feeling sometimes.
That's because
But you
you're
couldn't
not
love
a
yourself.
Punjabi
Yeah, if you don't love yourself, the first love is self-love. And that's what we've never been taught. Do you realize we have never been taught self-love? Ahankar mat karo. You know, don't be, how will you settle down with in-laws if you behave like this? We have never been taught unconditionally. And if you see these interviews of all these Susmita Sens and all, their mothers always taught them. Priyanka, I worked with her. Self-confidence, self-love. It's your journey. Do not care what this auntie, that uncle say. And anybody who's successful always had this in their story to say. That their parents always said, you know, be your own person, find who you are, get connected to what you are supposed to do and why you're here. And should be, of course you have to tell them. But that happens to 0 to 6 when, you know, downloads are happening. When the child is in a theta state, no? That's when the downloads happen. That's when don't cross the road, eat this, don't. After that, we don't have to bother them with these things. You just have to handhold them if they want you, I think.
So I have 2 questions. Just wanted to ask you about the movie that you made on child trafficking.
Oh,
Yeah. It's called
You see
Soul,
that?
right?
You see that?
Yeah.
oh yeah.
So just, I mean, I could not really, see through because just
It
found
just-
it too
Imagine
heart-wrenching.
I played that role. Can you imagine
Yeah,
what I went
yeah.
through? So, you know, in the
So
book,
is it you picked it up from?
I went
something
to
that-
Shunagachi.
Oh. Okay.
I went to Shunagachi because the director was an Academy Award director, Jeffrey D. Brown. He wasn't. They are very particular. So cast here, they flew me to Kolkata, and this was the saddest days of my life because the NGO people took me. You can't go to Shunagachi like that. You know, wear very simple clothes, and they're Bengalis. I'm a Bengali, and it was the most horrifying effect that. One of the experiences I'll share with you. So there was this high bed. Just a picture में नहीं दिखाते. They had that high bed, and there's 2-3 children playing नीचे, and there was this woman, and she was eating kakadi. The kakadi was yellowing outside, and she dikhao. I was feeling like vomiting to see that kakadi. Now, if I didn't eat that kakadi, she would think that I'm this upper class actress who's come. And if I saw that kakadi, and there was it was very traumatic for me, and there was this boy outside, young boy, he was trying to negotiate with her for money, and she kept saying, customer. She was going like ballistic. Customer means customer. She was telling me, customer. And that customer was this young boy, maybe 15, and she must have been maybe 30, and eating all this. मतलब मुझे जो और I was feeling scared to sit on the bed also, the chadar, because obviously that's her business, that's where she works. So I actually talked to lots of them, and the stories they told me. Of course, I cannot talk in the platform what they told. And then the worst thing is that I had to play that cruel person. It was a very, very, very traumatic. It was a bit like a show I did called Tara way back then. I don't know if you remember Tara. So I was playing Anita Seth, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I was playing this baddie, and I had to throw one child like that. And the director is saying, and I said, I can't, sir, I can't, Ramanji, I can't. He said, kuch nahi pakad lenge. And there's this Muslim lady, 3-4 kids, they come to the set. They are not much bothered, okay. Like, oh my child, नहीं कुछ नहीं होगा, वो ठीक हो जाएगा, फेंक दो, आप फेंक दो. and I'm carrying my first child. So, so the actor in me, you know, I just breathed and I became that hard character and I threw that baby and I started weeping. I just fell down and started weeping. So they had to cut the shot. I said, sir, I can't do it,
But
seriously.
you
I
had to
can't.
throw a real
Yeah,
baby.
but then we hold it with each other and all that. But I mean, it's like sometimes you have to tear your heart. It's not easy. It to be real. I mean, you can fake it, but you know, this is real life. That's a real baby. This is a real human being. Those are moments when you know, soul was one of them.
Yeah. And would you just like to share with all of us some kitty stories? How was it to work with in Karan Chand and working with Pankaj Kapoor?
You know, I'm working on this in a project, so I'm so glad you asked me. So, is there still an interest in Kitty?
Oh yes.
We love you as
You all were not born.
No, but we see that. No, I saw you
Yeah, you could share with us.
So we don't know sorry about Kitty.
We've seen her.
Oh, sorry. You don't know Kitty. Oh, there was this character, iconic show I did called Karan Chand. This is way back in 1983. So I played this very silly little secretary. That was yeah, those days, because you know what, there were only 39 episodes over 3 years. Now it's 5,000 episode celebration, 10,000.
But I must tell you something. You're such a tremendous actor that everybody remembers you as the character. Yeah. You know, that is the biggest thing actor can.
And I think that calls for a round of applause. And however much we want to just chat with you, but how everything good has to come to an end. So has to this session, this memorable session of Right Circle. Thank you, Susmita ji, for being with us. It's been an honor to talk to you, to have you here, and for this this valuable conversation. You've taken us from films to movies to books to real people to cosmos to energy everywhere this evening. So it's been quite. So, well, making any character compelling, I think it comes naturally to you. You're blessed with it, and it's amazing that you're doing the best out of it. And I think so has the role of authorship come to you. And we are all looking forward to reading this book. And it's phenomenal and impactful with the choice that you make of subjects that you choose. It leaves us, I'm sure everybody concurs, with more enriched today, more insightful. And you've just taught us as parents to just let our kids, you know, have their own, you know, flight. And just, it's okay if one of them is black sheep or, you know, it's all right. We now take it lightly and follow their hearts. So thank you for sharing your personal notes with us.
How many of you already become writers now? ये भी बात है ना?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we have Gayatri's written a book. We have
You must see all.
Gaurav's written a book.
Gentlemen have no question.
Yeah.
Weren't excited
I
with
think
the chat.
privately.
No, I was very much engrossed into it, and I was actually going through all the things you've been speaking
Picturing
of.
everything.
And it was all inside me. I put a notes
Seriously?
on my
Oh, lovely.
and both those beautiful lines I can. I'm going to use it in my third book. Fine.
You'll have to share the royalty with us.
What lines? Wow.
And Akshita's son has written a book who's only 9. Yeah, he's written. So there are writers amongst.
So I have got a book for you
I've got a
also.
book too.
I've got a book for you also today.
Amazing.
I'll be pleased if you can read and
Of course, of
write
course.
and review.
Thank you.
And a very fond thank you to my dear friend Priyanshu Patel, who's come all the way from Ahmedabad for this session. She's truly a woman of substance with the kind of social work that she conducts, and her strong inclination towards
literature and art is amazing and inspiring, and thank you for being here. It's lovely to see two empowered women together, inspiring all of us in this room. A big shout out to all my dear friends. I see, happy gathering in August gathering here. Thank you all of you to be here with us, and your encouragement just helps us to go on, and always grateful for your constant support. Our precious regulars, regular attendees, thank you very much. Thank you to the media for your cooperation and interest in our endeavors. We truly appreciate it. Thank you to Radisson Blu for their warm hospitality. Thanks to Prabha Khaitan Foundation for making this possible. Once again, I extend my deepest gratitude to everyone for being here and for this lovely evening. Please take your signed copy by the author himself, the indispensable Susmita ji. And can I have Swati with me, the Ehsaas women, women of Udaipur? And we would just, it's an honor to felicitate you, so I call Swati to.
Thank you.